Heads up, this one's wild. How did a Democratic reporter end up in Trump's war room? The Atlantic just got exposed. Trump officials accidentally text war plans to a journalist. And Tulsi, she's under fire for using Signal. It's quite a bit of irony here. This story isn't just about a glitch in communication, it's about a breakdown in discipline. And what comes next might change how we handle internal messaging for good. Roll the tape.
Hurry up. Looking forward to it. One question.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does.
Pete Hegseth came in hot. The Atlantic, they ran another hit job, and Pete Hegseth torched it. He called out Jeffrey Goldberg exactly for what he is, a partisan hitman who hides behind anonymous sources. And let's be real, Goldberg's track record isn't A+. There was the Russia hoax, suckers and losers, and now this. At this point, if he says it's raining outside, you better check your forecast. So, when it happens on our side, same rules apply. Accept accountability, fix it, and just be better. The audience should definitely feel fired up here and outraged that this is happening and motivated to hold the line. Because what's at stake here isn't just about reputation. This is about national security. And we can't afford to play defense when we've already got home field advantage. But it's what came next that really raised eyebrows. Watch as Jeffrey Goldberg tries to defend the article.
They're saying that nobody was texting war plans. Given you were privy to this group chat, is that how you saw it?
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets, when the next sequence of attacks were happening. I didn't publish this, and I continue not to publish it because it felt like it was too confidential, too technical, and I worry, honestly, that sharing that kind of information in public could endanger American military personnel. But no, they were plans for the attack. And they were texted before the attack.
And there were things texted that you viewed as so sensitive, you did not even publish them in your report today.
I made the decision that the technical aspects of this, including what kinds of weapons packages, the attack sequencing, and so on, that's not necessarily in the public interest. What's in the public interest is that they were running a war plan on a messaging app and didn't even know who was invited into the conversation.
He admits the text messages were real. He admits they showed war planning, but he conveniently left out one key fact. He's a registered Democrat. His wife worked for Hillary Clinton. They've donated tens of thousands of dollars to the DNC. So when he says he was accidentally added to the chat, nah, we need more answers and more clarification than that. One thing's for sure. If a Republican journalist had ended up in one of Biden's threads, they would definitely be calling it espionage. But because it's Goldberg, they're treating it like an honest mistake. It's not. It's infiltration by incompetence, or worse. Next up, Don Jr. drops the hammer on Jeffrey Goldberg. Don J. tweeted, "Why doesn't Jeffrey Goldberg disclose to his readers that he's a registered Democrat and his wife worked for Hillary Clinton and donated nearly $25,000 to Democrats?" Don Jr. pulled up, handed off receipts, and then destroyed the whole narrative. Goldberg's whole career has been anti-Trump, and this last leak just proves how dangerous that bias is. Now we've got war strategies leaked and no clear answers as to how a Trump-hating journalist got access. That's not just sloppy, it's a national security breach. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean we hand Democrats a win. It means we tighten up in our giddy-up and we stop giving them chances to hold us accountable for silly and frivolous things. We hold the line by holding ourselves accountable. Republicans and conservatives can't afford to mimic the left's habit of ducking responsibility. Transparency has to mean something this time. And if we've messed up, we need to say it loud and clear. Our next clip shows some of the accidental text messages sent to this journalist, Goldberg. J.D. Vance at Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Let's make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risk of Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. Pete Hegseth replies, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else, even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is as good a time as any. Given POTUS director to reopen shipping lanes, I think we should go, but POTUS still retains 24 hours of decision space. Stephen Miller replies, as I heard it, the president was clear. Green light, but we soon make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. E.g., if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. Now let's get this straight. These weren't random emojis. These were attack targets, sequencing, weapons packages, real stuff, sent before the attack. Goldberg himself said the information was too sensitive to post. That's a major L for the conservative side, and we need to own it. We definitely don't need to be dodging questions like Democrats. If you drop the ball, you pick it up and you fix it. Don't lie about it. Because if we don't own it, we become the very thing that we're fighting. You can't lead from the front while hiding behind press releases. Up next, we've got our cosplay foul-mouthed charlatan, Jasmine Crockett, bringing up race and gender again.
And then y'all want to come at us and act like people of color are the problem or that women are the problem? Like, baby, you probably need a good black woman in the room who can check you and tell you that, first of all, you shouldn't be doing this shit on Signal or anything else.
She said we need a good black woman in the room to check people. Newsflash, lady, that's not leadership. That's identity politics on autopilot. And her follow-up was dragging the Signal messages into the room like it's the root of all evil. Message, the problem isn't Signal. It's the people abusing it. And let me just say this. Jasmine Crockett is not on stage at the BET Awards. She's in Congress. But the way she carries herself, vulgar, loud, and performative, acting like she's shooting a rap video, not representing her constituents at all. It's not strength. It's not empowerment. It's a caricature. And no, this isn't about race, unless you're going to tell me different. It's about the respect for the seat that you hold. But I tell you what, have you ever heard the phrase perpetuating the perpetuation? This surely makes us look bad. She talks about needing a good black woman in the room. How about one with class? How about one with substance and solutions? Because screaming on Signal while trying to play hood politics from your DC townhouse, that ain't the move, sweetheart. The culture definitely doesn't need any more cosplay. It needs clarity and competence. This isn't about pushing representation to the side, not by any means, but what it is about is rising to the standard. And now they're trying to rope Tulsi into this mess. Watch as she's questioned at the Senate hearing.
Contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff.
There was no classified material that was shared in that
So then
Signal
if there was no
check.
classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer.
Tulsi was grilled like she was smuggling state secrets. But where was that same energy when Hillary Clinton had a private server? She kept cool. They wanted a meltdown or a gotcha moment, but she didn't give it to them. And let's play the devil's advocate here for a minute. If you're interrogating someone over Signal, you probably should make sure your own house isn't full of unsecured iPads and ghost accounts. But the bomb dropped when they asked her about her personal cell phone. Let's watch.
Yes, Senator, I was.
Were you using your private phone or a public phone for the Signal discussions?
I won't speak to this because it's under review by the National Security Council. Once that review is complete, I'm sure we'll share the results with the committee.
What is under review? It's a very simple question. Are you your private phone or an officially issued phone? What could be under review?
National Security Council is reviewing all aspects of how this came to be. how the journalist was inadvertently added to the group chat, and what occurred within that chat across the board.
But so you were not going to disclose anything about whether you used the phone.
So they're upset because Tulsi possibly used her personal device on Signal, while ignoring the fact that half of Joe Biden's team was using Signal like WhatsApp. And when she refused to answer because it's under NSC review, the room lost it. Here's the key. The review is actually about how Gabbard gained access to the chat. That's the real scandal. You want answers? Let's start by how a known anti-Trump Democrat ended up in a national security discussion like it was a Reddit thread. Up next, let's check out Scott Jennings' spin on this scenario.
All right, moments ago, Caitlin Collins was reporting on her show, Scott, that there is shock inside the White House that this chat was texted to Jeffrey Goldberg. Are you shocked?
Well, sure. I mean, it's a shocking thing, and they've admitted that it was a mistake and admitted that it's authentic. So they're owning up to it. I think they're still, based on what I've heard tonight, trying to figure out how it happened. I'm not sure the National Security Advisor Walls even knows Goldberg. In fact, I don't believe he knows him and has never met him. I did learn a few things in some of my conversations, if you're interested. One is that the Signal program was preloaded on a number of devices and agency computers in this circuit when they got there. So in their view, it was already in use. Number two, in some of the messages, they talk about needing to go to the high side computers, which is the classified system. So they clearly were knowing there was a line on what you could discuss in a chat like this versus classified system. Number three, there is a dispute over whether the term war plans is being exaggerated. And number four, look, I love the policy. It's well executed. You've got a thoughtful policy discussion going on, and we did what the Biden administration would not do, stop these people from harassing our shipping lanes and our boats and our Navy. So good on the Trump administration for reversing it.
Jennings confirmed it. This wasn't fake. This wasn't a drill. And yes, it was a mistake. But at least someone on our side admitted it. No hiding, no gaslighting, just the facts. This is where we separate ourselves from the prior administration. They promised transparency, and what we got was hide and go seek. We're done doing that. Admit there was a problem, fix it, and keep it moving. And let's not forget, if we don't take this seriously, the voters will. Accountability is like currency. Don't burn it up. And now let's figure out how in the world a registered Democrat reporter ended up being added to this group chat. That's what needs to be investigated. And now we have Hakeem Jeffries who jumps in. Of course he does, calling all of Trump's picks DEI hires.
Who are some of these people that Donald Trump has put into the most sensitive national security positions in America? We were promised that Donald Trump was going to hire the very best. It's all phony. The attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, phony. So it's never about hiring the best people. As Democrats, we actually believe in merit. Merit that should be based on what you know, not who you know. And understand, this whole Trump administration is filled with lackeys and incompetent cronies.
Jeffries tried to jump in, calling Trump's picks DEI hires, which has to have some irony play coming from the same party who's built entire agencies around DEI. What you can't do is scream representation matters and then mock someone else's picks based on their skin color. We're not here to win beauty pageants. We're here to restore standards. And that's not unity. That's hypocrisy on steroids. The bottom line is we have to be honest with ourselves. This wasn't a good look for the right. And if we don't call it out, we're no better than the swamp we're trying to drain. We can't afford to dodge accountability like the left has historically and currently. If someone on our side has dropped classified intel or let a hostile journalist into a chat, we need names, we need answers, and we need corrections now. The prior party loved bragging about being the party of transparency. And let's not kid ourselves. That never happened, never did, never will. We're not repeating those same mistakes. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, or we lose the moral high ground we fight from. And if this was a mistake, then fix it immediately. This isn't about one group chat. It's about trust. It's about judgment. It's about whether or not we're truly ready to lead again. But let's not forget the underlying question here. How did Jeffrey Goldberg, a known anti-Trump Democrat with deep Clinton ties, end up in that Signal chat? That's not just weird, it's dangerous. So the final blow here, fix the leaks, clean up the comms, and get back to winning. Because if we don't tighten up now, we're handing the media their next headline. If you're still here, please like, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell. Also, drop a comment in the comment section. It helps us overcome the YouTube algorithm and allows us to get our content out to more people. Thank you, and God bless. Listen.